All right, welcome back. Episode 3, the finale. Wrapping up with our last 4 teams in the NCPL draft analysis series. And we're just going to hop right into this. Once again, always joined by Ty. Shout out him for the slides, and he's going to be helping me break these down. So yeah, let's do Tommy's team to start off here. We got Kiram and Glow King, big top 2. Really, really fun team with how many things kind of like interact with each other. I'm really excited for like the Kiram sets in Hail having just like massive defense and maybe getting a couple setup opportunities with like Dragon Dance or Scale Shot. And that kind of negates one Scale Shot's defense drop as well. So like that's just a super free move for him to run with like a loaded dice set or something. And then you see the Terra Alolan Sandslash. That is gonna. I mean, we didn't. I think we did. Yeah, on the next team we'll have Alolan Ninetales drafted. So there is another team with Snow, but Chilly Reception Glow King I think is more than enough to enable like a sweeper Sandslash. Glow King, especially on this team, wants to run Chilly Reception most weeks, so it's not gonna really worry too much with Regenerator that it wouldn't have to run like Black Sludge or Resist Berry or something. It's honestly pretty fine holding up that the Icy Rock to extend the snow turns. So like I definitely think that's going to be a really key function of this team. And then you look at a bunch of the other breakers, Infernape, Ogerpon, Primarina, even like a Specs Rotom. They can really chip some big holes here where you can have like an endgame Sandslash or Kingambit clean up. So I just like the theme of the team, honestly. I'm a huge fan of it. Type chart looks really good. Yeah, I think Tommy really kind of executed this plan pretty well after a couple Grace moves. What are your thoughts, Ty?
Yeah, so Tommy used his wheel pick really well. Obviously, the Kiram Glow King is really fun. I really like the Sandslash. I think that it comboed with Kiram is going to make it really hard to wall ice types, especially because Kiram can go special and physical. Let's see. Gambit is always a hassle to play against. He has 2 Defiant Mons, which is really annoying, especially because he has a lot of really strong physical Mons, so Intimidate is sort of out the window there. I think Rotom is a really good value Terra Captain. Let's see. His hazard removal's okay. I guess it helps Sandslash outspeed some of the faster Mons in Snow. I don't know how much Oricorio is going to be coming. But he has really good hazards. I really like Infernape and Kingambit as hazard setters. I haven't used Ogerpon before, but I'm sure that's fine at setting spikes as well. And then, let's see. There was something else I had for this team. Oh, he's got really good Scarfers too, which is nice.
Absolutely. And one thing I was just thinking about with Oricorio, the electric form, the pom-pom form, I actually think is going to play really well on this team. Obviously, it has U-turn, so it's not going to use like Volt Switch or anything. It doesn't have access to that, but that gives him another steel resistance, along with another fighting resistance, so that can kind of pair well with Kiram and kind of come in, maybe defog away some rocks, and then U-turn out so you can get up a little setup move or something. Obviously, it shares a rock weakness, so you got to keep an eye on that. But then you have like Infernape and Kingambit and Quagsire to totally, they don't care about that at the end of the day. And then Slowking's so specially defensive that honestly, like if you are worried about like a power gem, it can still come in on that. It's neutral. It's eaten that for days. Really no problems there. And then Rotom Terra Captain, I think that's actually really interesting too. Just having another defensive pivot with like Terra Electric or Terra Water. Rotom is definitely one of the like, it's third I guess in like the Rotom forms rankings, but you essentially get Rotom Wash if you go Terra Water for a cheaper price, and obviously you have to burn your Terra for that, but like Rotom Wash on this team looks pretty freaking good to me.
Yeah, definitely. What are your thoughts on the Terra Dark on Rotom?
I think because it gets Dark Pulse, so you can get some stab Nasty Plots, like you Nasty Plot up and stab Dark Pulse after. You can even run like a Dual Dance set with Rotom, and with Terra Dark. That I mean, Electric and Grass already has like really good neutral coverage, but you add Dark on that, and you're definitely hitting everything in the draft game for neutral damage. So that could definitely be like an end game sort of setup mon.
Yeah, I get it. I feel like I would have liked to have seen like a fairy, which sounds cliche, but since it gets pretty walled by a dragon, I feel like it would have just been some nice coverage for it. One other thing I wanted to say was Kurum losing Roost sucks, but he has such a naturally bulky team. I think it's okay. And then I'm also really excited to see some loaded dice sets on Kurum. I think that item's going to be really annoying to go up against now that it's in the game.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, the only thing I'm worried about is like the weeks where he wants to run that. Is it going to line up with weeks where he's going to have good hazard removal options? Because Kiram obviously loves wearing heavy duty boots, so that's just something to kind of keep in mind. But I guess if you see like a hazard removal mon, you definitely can't rule out loaded dice from Tommy's end. So a ton of different options. And I was saying this before we hopped in call. When there's a King Gambit, there's a way. So even if you're like really smoking him, at the end of the day, King Gambit's coming in +5 off that Supreme Overlord, and it's going to be able to at least put in some work. Especially with a little bit of chip.
Yeah. Oh, and you can also go loaded dice on Sandslash too, which is cool.
Oh yeah, Icicle Spear. Yep, for sure. Okay, yep. Well, Tom, I love the team. Great job on the wheel, like always. We've seen that before, and he won a championship. So I'm actually predicting Tommy to go 7-1 this season. I know it's a bold statement, but I really like this team. I like his schedule. I think it's going to work out. Let's go on to the next one here. So we got Graham, which is Tommy's week 1 matchup. This is our polar opposites. Just went from the wheel pick right there to the first overall pick. And Graham took Iron Valiant, kind of shocking the world. He wasn't necessarily bluffing anything leading up to it, but he definitely didn't clue anybody in that Valiant was going to be taken. I think it's totally fine as a first round pick, first overall especially. It can just do so many things. And when you look at this team, it's very similar to like Ton and MJC's team where it's offense. There are not too many options where you want to consistently run these mons defensively. Gastrodon, Regirock being like the exceptions there. But on an offensive team with one of the best screen setters in the entire league in Alolan Ninetales, and then you have all these setup mons, Roaring Moon, Volcarona, especially my boy Glowbro. I think this team is going to be a nightmare to prep against, but I also think it's going to be difficult to build with. You're going to have to definitely get your calls right on what moves you're putting on everything. And then while you're playing the game, of course, with the nature of the team not having many defensive switch-ins, most weeks it's going to be a bulky offense to offense concept, so you're going to have to make a lot of reads, and maybe a prediction or two goes wrong and you really find yourself behind at that point. But yeah, that's kind of my overall thoughts.
Yeah, I agree with that. As far as the reading goes, there's not a whole lot of momentum on the team. You have Baton Pass from Ninetales, U-Turn from Roaring Moon and Volcarona, and then Volt Switch on Electros, which is fine. Those are good momentums, but I think it's gonna make it so he has to make a lot of reads. But the offense is just crazy. It's really hard to wall Valiant, Moon, Hydrapple, Volcarona, Metagross, and then even the other stuff like Ninetales does some damage with Blizzard and Moonblast, and Glowbro even hits pretty hard. And then Electros can even do quite a bit since it gets a chance to set up now that it's a Terra Captain. And I mean, even Regirock doesn't hit for nothing.
Right, body press off of base 200 defense is not not a slouch. But yeah, I mean, honestly, Graham, just read people's souls and dominate. That's kind of like the end of the day. I'm like thinking about potential like team concepts here, and we know he loves his like setup Electros, so that could open up some sets for like Banded Roaring Moon or Scarf Roaring Moon. It could be like a Specs Iron Valiant or a Banded Iron Valiant. So like they don't have to run booster energy every week if he wants to use something else as a setup option.
Yeah, and since he loves to do setup, he has a ton of mons that can do it, which makes it really hard in prep because it's like, oh, which mon's going to set up? Is it going to be Volcarona? Is it going to be Roaring Moon? Is it going to be Iron Valiant? Is it going to be Electros? You have no idea. I mean, it could be even the Belly Drum Glowbro.
When
or
you're
a nasty plot Ninetales. I think it gets that right.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Like Hypnosis plus Nasty Plot, like off lead. But yeah, like,
so like there's a lot of options.
When you're building against Graham's team, you're gonna find things that work really, really well, and there's probably no way for you to actually defensively build against it because he has so many options that are gonna be able to break holes through you and potentially sweep. So it definitely forces, which is nice. You can't play defensively into him. Which, that's exactly what this team wants. This team does not want to deal with things that are like 252 on defense or SPDF. They want to go up against other offensive mons. And then that's just where the calls are made in the team builder of what moves I'm running and kind of the game plan of when I'm actually getting them in.
Yeah, and then another annoying thing when prepping against this team is the Fickle Beams from Hydrapple. Like, whenever I do calcs, it's always like worst case scenario. So I know I would be calcing something and be like, oh my god, what do I switch into Fickle Beam kind of thing.
Yeah, every time you calc, it's going to do double damage.
yeah, exactly. And like, it's so bulky that even if you switch something in, it's like, oh god, do I have to take 2 Fickle Beams? Because that's just not going to happen.
Yeah, no, it's,
so,
it's 30% chance, so...
it's not nothing.
Right, yeah. Throughout the game, especially with Regenerator, you're going to get plenty of opportunities to get that double damage off.
Yeah, I mean, even if it doesn't get the 30% chance, 80 base power off of 120 special attack is pretty crazy. And, like, I don't know why you wouldn't just run it modest each week unless you needed the extra bulk. Odds are you're not making it super fast, so you can put those extra EVs however you want.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to see how he runs it. I know he's really excited about it, and hence why I took it round 3. That way nobody else could.
And the Glowbro round 2 is so funny. I love it.
Yeah, I'm so high on Glowbro. I love that mon. I was thinking about making a Terra Captain in a couple of my mock builds. But yeah, we'll hop over to your team here. So yeah, just kind of talk about the concept.
Yeah, so I really wanted to go with Terapagos round 1. You and I did a lot of mock battles and mock drafts before the season started, and I kept drafting Terapagos onto the teams. Not round 1, but it sort of just made its way onto every team. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to draft it round 1 because I seem to like this mon a lot. And originally, I really wanted to pair Pecharunt with it round 2. I got greedy and thought I could get it a little bit later, but Dodge picked it up, which is totally fine. So I went with Ting Lu to get some more hazards and just give some really nasty bulk out of the first 2 options. And Ting Lu also helps deal with the steel types and ghosts that Terapagos wants to get hit, so it can just spam Terra Starstorm.
Yep.
So overall, the team is just meant to have a good bit of bulk with some wishes from Jirachi, and then have some good speed from Weavile and Kilowattrel to just spam attacks and chip as much as I can down. I don't really have a whole lot of setup sweepers, which is my biggest complaint with it, but I have a ton of wall breaking potential, which is really nice. And I think the name of the game is just going to be breaking and hopefully outliving my opponent as best as possible.
Well, yeah, you have 2 amazing spinners in Terapagos and Tentacruel, and like Tentacruel especially now that it has like flip turn and the return of knockoff. So like you can definitely afford to run power boosting items on a lot of things, and you're not just stuck running boots. So like that definitely helps some of the mods that like don't quite get over the edge on damage. Especially like Weavile, where like, yeah, regular jolly knockoffs are going to do a ton, but if you throw a band on that, I mean, that's busting through everything. Triple axle 3 hits off of band is insane damage. So like you definitely have a little flexibility with the hazard control, so you have more item diversity. Terra Kilowattrel is definitely one of the better Terra captains, especially most weeks you're going to be running a Volt Absorb, so flying and water are super easy to run on it. Kind of limiting your weaknesses. And then like the damage off of Terraflying Hurricanes is also like really stupid. The team, like, I think the thing I like about it the most is like it's not necessarily easy to find the route in prep with it, but that kind of stresses you and makes you better every week, right? Like, you don't have like a funny button you can just come in and click like a Chi-Yu overheat. You have all these different things to consider and how you're going to game plan around it. And that's different than kind of like how we've played previously, and especially some of your teams. So I think this is going to like stress you in a different way. And like at the end of the season, once you actually figure it out, and yeah, I mean, it's just going to be unstoppable at that point. It's going to be playing like against like Blunder or Pokegame, where it's bulky offense and you're just making the right plays every time.
Yeah, I think that's what it's going to come down to. For those who didn't watch our game, I didn't make a whole lot of great plays to start, and it put me behind, but there was still a chance, which was really cool. I think that was partially just because of the mons that I had, which was really nice. I'm really excited to use Keldeo again, and I'm glad I got Tentacruel, because I picked up Tentacruel in the grace period, and prior to that, my only water resist was Keldeo, and I didn't want that because most of the weeks I'm going to want it pretty offensive. So Tentacruel helps with that a lot, which is super nice. Really a big fan of that.
Yep, and then Arboliva with the Seed Sower, that definitely helps support, obviously, another water resistance, but giving Terapagos a little bit of health, because a lot of weeks it's going to want to run boots.
Yeah, between that and leftovers, I'm probably able to get Terapagos back up pretty easily, and with the wishes, which is the game plan. I'm also excited to use Gramble. I hope I can bring it some weeks. I know that Kilowattrel is probably going to want to come most of the time just because it's such a reliable Terra Captain, but the damage output from Gramble is just so high. I think it could easily be slept on a lot of weeks and maybe catch some people off guard in prep.
Absolutely, like a little Trick Room U-turn Jirachi into a Terra Fairy Granbull and just blow things up. I see the vision.
Yeah, exactly.
I love the team though. And your type chart is perfect. Obviously, type charts aren't real in Gen 9, but like somehow you ended up making it perfect. So,
hey man, we made some changes, and I think they're for the best. But
yeah. I like it, and Moltres is. I'm really really high on Moltres. It's just such a good mon. I want to see that a lot.
Yeah, I'm excited to use it. I'm curious if I'm gonna try to bank on it as a more defensive mon, because I would love to take advantage of its high special attack and try to go a more offensive route, because I think it's just super hard to resist flying most of the time. So having the Kilowattrel and Moltres just spamming Hurricane all game is going to be hard for a lot of people to wall.
Yeah, right, and you don't even want to go into your Steel type on Moltres, and you don't necessarily want to go into a Rock type on Kilowattrel. So, you definitely are running out of resistances pretty quickly between those two. But yeah,
absolutely.
I love it. And yeah, we'll just wrap up real quick with my team. I'm not going to go too crazy with it. I'm going to refer everybody to 6 Foot Hacks because my team is very, very similar to theirs. The original plan was go Great Tusk Iron Valiant, because in a lot of our mock drafts, Valiant wasn't getting drafted for whatever reason. So I kind of had that in my mind, and then my backup plan was actually Enamorous round 2, because that was just like my budget Valiant choice, and I wanted to use Enamorous again. I haven't used it since Boomer League, and it got sniped the pick before me. So I was like, all right, screw it. I'm taking an Ogerpon form, and I'm going to go with a Hearthflame, because I think that works really, really well with Great Tusk. I did want Wellspring as well, but in round 2 it felt like a little early for that, so I just went with the Hearthflame form. And then after that, I was like, I want Azumarill. I was really, really high on Azumarill, and that didn't make it back to me. So I just started going bar for bar with Leo's team. But it's cool, because I've never actually used Manaphy, Zapdos, Uxie, I haven't used any of these mons except for Inteleon in one single week. So like this team is brand new to me. I went with a Grace Move change to pick up Terra Hoopa. It got banned from the SPL for this season. I didn't think it was ban worthy, so we allowed it, and it just went undrafted. So I picked it up in free agency. I mean, it's
you're neglecting your other Terra pickup.
Terra Trapinch, the GOAT. It's please don't sleep on Terra Trapinch. Please respect my little man.
I didn't sleep on it, and it still got 2 kills.
Yeah, Terra Bug first impressions. like, I mean, just a calc from Ty and I's game, to the base, like, regular Ting Lu set, it was doing 65% minimum. So, yeah, and then Terra Stellar is actually kind of funny on it, because potentially I run, like, an Annihilate set one week, and then Terra Stellar, and I come in and I trap a Terra Captain and hit it with a Terra Blast for super effective damage. Obviously, still getting a good first impression boost if I wanted that, or an Earthquake boost, or... I run like an Endure Flail set with a Custap Berry. I got all sorts of options with that boy. Trapinch, it seems very one-dimensional, but I got some options.
Crazy two-pointer.
But yeah, I mean, Trapinch essentially, at the end of the day, it does do a lot of damage, but the idea was that hopefully people are a little bit concerned about it, and they won't run like Rocky Helmets for like my mouse hold, so I can get some pop bombs off. Or if they are running Rocky Helmets, maybe I can trap them with a Trapinch that week. And then I have a ton of momentum, especially across the top there, Ogerpon, Manaphy, Zapdos, Uxie. Yeah, I think that defensive core is going to be very flexible, where I can kind of customize each week if I want defensive Manaphy or defensive Zapdos. Uxie obviously can go both ways. I could get a little goofy and do like a Calm Mind Imprison set. You never know. I've never seen that before. Just kind of spitballing. And then Tinkaton, I just really wanted to use. I think it looks really cool, and it definitely has some really fun sets. I initially had Sableye because I really like Encore off of Prankster, but Mousehold and Tinkaton are both really fast and get Encore. I believe Ogerpon also gets Encore, so I definitely have some options there to kind of like disrupt setup opportunities into me, because setup definitely kind of wrecks me unless I'm running like screens or like Memento on Uxie. It's going to be weird building with this team, because I didn't really have a plan for it when I drafted it. It all kind of lined up, right? And so I'm kind of figuring it out on the fly. But all of these mods I really want to use, and I'm hoping each one can kind of get featured each week. So we'll see what happens. Also, I think people sleep on Inteleon. I've drafted it twice. I really want to actually end up making it work eventually.
Yeah, Inteleon's super strong. I totally disregarded it in the team builder in our game. I assumed it wasn't coming, so I didn't even speed creep it. But it's really scary on paper. It puts out some damage. So with that, when I was prepping for your team, Hoopa is such a crazy Terra Captain. I was basically just like, okay, well, when that thing comes in, I'm just sacking whatever's in front and trying to put some damage off, because it's impossible to wall 150 special attack with Terra types.
Sure.
At least with my team it was. And then Mousehold Pop Bomb was super annoying. Even if it was protective pads, it was just really difficult to have a switch in for it. I think Tinkaton fits really well. It's only weak to fire and ground, and none of your other mons are weak to that, which is super cool. So you can just run it super bulky or really annoying with T-Waves and Stealth Rock. And Ogerpon does get Encore, by the way, which is cool.
Yeah.
I think Uxie can be really good support for your team as well. It can knock off, again, is a huge perk for it.
I think I definitely got a little bit of like analysis paralysis in building week 1 versus you, because every mon is so incredibly flexible. Great Tusk, obviously you can run it with booster energy on attack or speed. You could run booster energy defense with body presses. I could run it as a rapid spinner defensive mon with knockoff. Manaphy sets up, it could be a bulky water with Calm Mind. It could just be a pivot with flip turn and knockoff. Same with like Zapdos and Uxie, and just like all these mods can do so many things, which is going to be nice in terms of like people won't know what's coming. And I feel like I have enough threats that, certain holes can end up being made. But my issue, and I'm going to try to fix this season, is actually seeing what I can do that does cause a hole that might get patched, and then figure out how to counter off of that. This week was like, I didn't like my matchup, honestly, so I was like, I'm bringing Trapinch, I'm going to sack things, and then kill him back with first impression and keep it moving. And I was expecting a 1-0 victory or loss, one way or the other.
That's funny. It's funny, when I was prepping for our game, at first I was like, oh god, what do I do about setup Manaphy? That's so scary. And then after I started prepping for that, I was like, oh god, what do I do about Tusk if that thing starts setting up? And then I prepped for that, and then I was like, oh Jesus, now I'm losing to offensive Zapdos. That has to come. And then I was like, oh god, I can't prep for all of this. This is a mess. And then I just threw Hoopa out the window. That was a lost cause. But it's really hard to wall the team. And I really like the speed tiers for Manaphy and Zapdos overlapping. It makes it so one of them can go bulky and the other one can go super offensive that week, and it works out really well, which is cool.
100%. And yeah, maybe some weeks I run them both super offensive with a lot of speed, and
easily.
Maybe somebody thinks one of them will be bulky and then gets caught off with how fast it is. So definitely too many options, but that gives me more time during the week to mess around in the team builder.
Exactly. And then you also have Uxie and Tingaton right there with similar speed tiers, so like you can run both those offensive and then throw Uxie in the back as a defensive guy.
I know, my base speed would look so insane if I didn't have a trap inch on here.
Yeah, exactly. It throws off the average BST.
Yeah, 100 base attack though. That's nice and beefy. I'll take that.
It's not nothing.
But yeah, Ty, thanks for making these slides. Everybody, shout out Ty in the Discord in the comments. Couldn't do this without him. Just amazing job as always. And
Thank you.
Let's finish out week 1 and keep this thing going. We will see you with a little spoiler here. We're gonna do a little bit different sort of breakdowns for the weeks. So yeah, you guys will see what I got cooking up here, but we got too many coaches to do a breakdown for 7 games every week, especially if we're not getting them done by like the end of Sundays. There's no way I'm doing them on weeknights like that. So we got a little bit of a twist for that. So stay tuned. That will be coming out whenever this week's over. So yeah, we will catch you guys. Appreciate you watching. See ya.